Pay attention. That means you too. How many meetings start that way? Well, we have planning effective meetings. How many of you are PAC presidents or PAC chairmen for the first time? Yeah, okay. You're going to probably be anxious about your new role, and you're going to want to know how to handle it the best way. And this is hopefully going to review a lot of things that you may have heard before, but it doesn't hurt reviewing them. And the thing is, as much as we know it, you need to practice it to get very good at it. And you're going to have lots of opportunity this year to do that. Something to make note of is that conducting a meeting is actually different than presenting, which is what I'm doing right now for the most part, and it's different from teaching. Those all have somewhat different skill sets. When we look at the title here, Planning Effective Meetings, what are the two important words? They're not new ideas, what we're going to present here, but they are easily forgotten, need to be reviewed. And here we are at our typical meeting, and there's Mr. Gavel Knocker chairing the PAC meeting. Typical meeting here. Okay, the PAC president talks, the school administration talks, and the recipients, the nails here, they absorb, and then they ask questions. And Mr. Gavel Knocker says, are there any questions? Does everybody understand? And somebody says, oh, I have a question, right? Okay. Well, we're going to find out that that's not the way it should be. It's the chairman who should be asking the questions to involve the people at the meeting. And the PAC president is not there because they're smart. I mean, Heidi is a good example of that, right? No. They're not there because they're smart. They're there because they need the help of the people in the room. They need to learn how to bring out the strengths, the values, the ideas of the people in the room. They bring their own ideas as well, of course, but that's not usually enough, and it's not where we wind up. We've got a collection of wonderful ideas that come out of the PAC. And a key thing here is that if the people in the meeting feel like they contributed and that they were somehow important at that meeting, they'll come back. If they never have a chance to say anything, they never contributed anything, there's a pretty good chance that they'll say, oh, thank you very much, and Mr. Gavel Knocker will say thank you for coming, and you'll never see them again. So make them feel important, have them be involved, have them contribute, and they will come back. Here are the 7 elements of effective meetings. That's the title of my new book when I get around to reading it. And there they are. Plan for the meeting, of course. Gathering for the meeting, opening the meeting, conducting the meeting. You thought I was going to tell you how to conduct a meeting. Well, yes, it's one of the 7 things. But there's 6 other things here that contribute to this being an effective meeting and one that people will come back to. And we're going to go through all of these. I don't have to read them all out. And at the end, we're going to have a role play at the front here, because you can listen to me as much as you want, but if you can see a meeting that's reasonably effective, that's role played, it's going to stick in a certain way. So planning a meeting. You have an agenda. For most PACs, it's a fairly generic agenda, but you throw in something that changes from week to week, and that's the old business and the new business, but everything else is pretty much the same. Adopt the minutes, accept the agenda, treasurer's report. These things tend to be the same from one meeting to the next. But we'll see that in the role play. And then the invitations. How many people just have the PAC announced in the school newsletter? There is a PAC meeting and the date, and that's about it. Okay. Now, if you want people to come, you might be wise to put something in there, make sure there's something in there about what's in it for me, the WIFM. And there's lots of things, and you can think of them easily enough, same as I could. You meet other parents, meet the principal and vice principal, share your thoughts and ideas. Oh, hey, They get involved. They're a valuable part. Express your priorities. Not just listen. And something there will appeal to a parent, and they'll show up. And if you're lucky, you'll have maybe 20 the first meeting. In June, you might be down to 4. And that brings me to the next point. If you want them to keep coming, coffee and cookies. Now, I know a lot of people think, oh, that's too much trouble, and only 4 people eat the cookies, and it's too late in the day for coffee, and I don't want to have decaf as well and all that. But the thing to note here, and Sandy's done it well here at the side, there's nibblies, food attracts flies. No, it attracts people. Food attracts people. And if you even mention in the invitation that there will be refreshments, there will be coffee and cookies, anything like that, I mean, it sounds a lot down the priority list to sharing your thoughts, right? But it attracts people, so they will show up. And especially at your annual general meeting, you want a few more people to show up than the potential executive for next year. Coffee and cookies will help. If you can get another presenter so they don't have to listen to the same person most of the time, that helps a lot. It could be a teacher, a student who did something interesting, or a speaker on an educational topic, somebody like that. You have to organize that and arrange it ahead of time and then put it into the WIFM. Come and listen to, our president of the student leadership team. Something like that. And the people think, oh, yeah, the only way I'm going to hear that is to go to the meeting. So they show up and have it in your invitation. Okay, gathering for the meeting. Okay, I've been to lots of meetings where the PAC president or the PAC chairman, it doesn't have to be PAC, before the meeting, they're shuffling papers, they're talking to their executives, making sure that they know what they're doing, and they completely ignore the rest of the room. And a lot of the PAC meetings you go to, they're not different than anywhere else, and they're not different than places that aren't PACs. The chairman for the meeting typically does that. But it's lost time that you can make real value out of. You want to create relationships in your PAC. And this is a good time to do it. So arrive early, so you're the first one there. And when people come in the room that you haven't seen before, they're one of your newcomers, go over and say, hi, I'm the PAC chairman, I'm, Josephine. Do I look like, whoever. And who are you? And that's great. What grade is your child in or whatever? And you've made a connection. And that person all of a sudden feels more important because, the PAC president actually came up and talked to them. A lot of other meetings, that never happens. They might talk to somebody, but they never meet the PAC president. And they go away thinking, wow, it was a nice meeting, but I don't think I was that important. But if they talk to the PAC president, that automatically makes them important. You can ask, and then introduce people to each other as well. You can say, do you know anybody here? Is this your first time at a PAC meeting? Maybe they've been to PAC meetings before, but in the previous school. Are you new to the school? And then before you leave them, introduce them to somebody else. This is so-and-so, and also has a child in grade 6 or whatever it is. And then they start to talk, and you leave that to grow on itself, and you're off to the next newcomer. Don't make it so that you have to speak to your executive. Try to do that all ahead of time, emails, telephone, whatever, so that you don't have to do that at the beginning of the meeting. You can concentrate on the people attending, all those nails that you saw a little earlier. When I was younger, when I went to a party, I still go by this, the best time is the earliest and the latest. So arrive at a party early, leave late, and why? Because that's when you meet people. When there's 100 people in the room, or in the PAC meeting there's 15 in the room, that's not when you're meeting them. It's when they're first arriving and the stragglers at the end. That's when you really get to connect. And somehow find a way of making them feel like they contributed, they had a part to play, they were appreciated, and guess what? They'll come back. So, I've spoken a lot. Now finally we're going to open the meeting. Now start on time. Now you'll probably find if you call the meeting for 7 o'clock, that come 7 o'clock you're still the only one there. Maybe the principal. But by 7:05, 7:07, you probably have quite a few people. I wouldn't go much beyond that. Open the meeting. Now you know fully well that there's some people coming in from the parking lot still. But open the meeting before the last people arrive. Why? Because if you wait till everybody's there, everybody will think, oh, I know I was late, but I guess it was okay. You know, the meeting hadn't started. So next time, they're late again, right? About the same amount. But the ones that are the most tardy, if they arrive and the meeting started, the next time, they're going to be there a little earlier. And you'll finally get that meeting starting at 7:05. I know it's at 7, but you'll get it starting consistently at 7:05, and people get appreciated for their time in that manner, and it works. Round table introductions. Again, a typical PAC meeting, people forget to do this. Maybe there's only one newcomer. You know, we're talking November. There's only one newcomer, everybody knows each other, you don't bother, you just jump into the agenda. But if you do roundtable introductions, even that one new person gets to know who the others are. And as I say there, that's on their minds. If there's a special guest, you want to make sure that they're introduced in that capacity. Now, why do you need to introduce people? Well, evolution has assured us that of the survival of the most self-centered. Did you know that? Yeah. And here we are. We're very self-centered. We want people to know who we are. And if it takes half the meeting to finally say something and people get to know who you are, and you say, oh, by the way, I'm new here, but I have this to say, you've lost a bit of time there, because right up until they get noticed and they have a chance to speak, they're thinking about them. They're not thinking about anything else in the meeting. So get that over with ahead of time, so everybody knows who everybody else is. And then they will concentrate on the agenda. For the introductions, sometimes it's good to ask, why are you here? Because they'll say something and another person will say, oh, I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I guess I'm here for that reason too. And what grades are your kids in? Because the people sometimes are there thinking, well, you know, my daughter just started, you know, grade 1. I wonder if anybody else has a child also in grade 1 that my kid might know or something. So it's just another thing you can add to the introduction besides just their name. And thank people for coming, especially the newcomers. You can do that right then. And you can, of course, do it at the end of the meeting. Okay, conducting the meeting. Oh, finally, we get to conducting the meeting. Okay, well, what I'd say here is, as the chairman or your PAC president, you want to have a pretty good idea where you're going to get to in that PAC meeting. You got an idea. You want to make 1 or 2 decisions. You want to know what those might be. You want to have a pretty good idea of what a reasonable decision along those lines might be. It might end differently, but have an idea in your head how it might work out. If you've got somebody else helping with the presentation, talk to them ahead of time, ask them what they're expecting out of the meeting. Do you want to just talk? Do you want to get some new ideas? Do you want to ask people about things? Do you have decisions that you need to make? And have that clear before you even get to the meeting. It's very tempting when you're the chairman to just say, well, you know, I think we hardly need to discuss this particular thing because I can tell you everything that is pertinent. And then they do, right? It's, even though you probably can talk about everything that's pertinent, if you can have them tell you, instead of you telling them, then guess what? They get to feel appreciated. And everybody who's married, and that's all of us pretty much, you know that that's important, right? You know, your wife is going to go along with what you're thinking if it was her idea. So see if you can get it to come from those other people. Seek better ideas than your own. Something that I learned, I was in Toastmasters for many, many years, and as a president of a Toastmasters club, I always thought my ideas, how things should be run, were the best ideas. And I learned that that wasn't the case. And that was the best learning I ever did as a group leader, to discover that, yeah, you want to have a bit of an idea where you might be getting to at the end of the meeting, but if you can solicit from the other people their ideas, you're probably going to wind up with a better idea than what you arrived with in the first place. Involve others. There's always somebody in the room that's more aware of what you're talking about and has a better idea. And if they contributed, they will return. Of course, we talked about that. Involving others, we'll talk about that in the next slide, and then questions also on another slide. So involving others, there we are. Good job. Who's doing that? Heidi, hey. Good. See, involve others. Involve others. Share the limelight. There's lots. I know sometimes a PAC president gets uncomfortable if they go for too long without saying something. Get over it.
What are you saying?
Yeah. You know, the nails are probably more entertained hearing what the co-nails are saying than listening to you, especially after the first little bit. And besides, the chairman and the PAC president are taken for granted. And again, if you're in there for prestige or because you think you're going to be seen as the best president there's ever had, you know, again, get over it, because, you know, for one thing, you're probably wrong. But the other thing is that even if you really are good, people aren't going to notice. They just take you for granted. They want you to think they're great. And if you do that, they'll come back. The least important person in the room is you. After all the ideas are out, if there's truly something that's not covered, then you can have a brilliant idea and add it. Okay, questions, expand, discussions. Now, discussions, the big thing here is that you involve others and you get more ideas, right? When you get into discussion, you as the chairman have to decide, based on time sometimes, how much discussion is enough and when you should round it off. If there's a lot of people in the room who haven't expressed themselves yet, then that's a good reason to have more and more discussion. Invite comments by just saying, what do you think? In fact, that's a good thing to start with. What do you think? Because they don't care what you think, but they do care what they themselves think, and they want you to hear it because they're brilliant, right? And you can tell them so. You can ask questions to clarify, you know, how should we do that? Or what exactly do you mean? You know, who you think? Seek consensus. Does everybody agree? Because you may have reached consensus already and you're letting it stretch out. But if everybody's already agreed, you know, maybe it's time to wrap up. So you bring in the others. There's the quiet, pensive one, and you say, you know, your thoughts, Mike. What do you think? And Mike will say, oh, I agree with everything this one said. But at least he got to say something, right? And then wrap it up. Have we missed anything? Because you don't want somebody leaving the room thinking, I don't know about that decision. You know, they never really talked about such and such. So have we missed anything? And then end, if you can, with a decision. And the best way to have a decision is to have it be a motion because it's recorded in the minutes. And at the very least, you can assign tasks and have it be on your unfinished business next time. For parliamentary procedure, there is Robert's Rules of Order. If you're a masochist, you can buy one and read it. It's probably not a bad thing for your PAC to have anyway. It's not that expensive. All you really need to know is how to do a motion, how to amend the motion, vote on the amendment, then go back to the motion. You've probably seen that happen. It's not terribly exciting, and it doesn't take too much to describe that. But that's pretty much all you need to know, unless you want to really get into it. And I would say a little bit of advice here: don't get hung up on parliamentary procedure. I've been at so many meetings where they've done something wrong from the parliamentary procedure point of view. It's best, if nobody else is upset except maybe yourself because it wasn't done right, then just let it go. Because parliamentary procedure is there so that everybody is comfortable. And if everybody is comfortable and it was done wrong, we've reached the end point anyway. You don't want to be the person that says, excuse me, point of order. We really should have a formal motion about that. Okay, so maybe you were right, but if it didn't really help and it didn't make the atmosphere more positive, you probably just created a bit of a downer. When you get into nitty-gritty of parliamentary procedure, you can raise the tension in the room a lot. Let go of the mistakes and not worry about it. Concluding a meeting. Summarize before you conclude so that people are motivated by the fact that they actually came to a meeting that accomplished something. Talk about information that was received, decisions that were made. You can talk about some new voices on the PAC. I'm really glad that Mike was here and had a chance to say something. I'm glad that Paula brought up a couple of points about the playground. Do it in a way that motivates people. Do as many thank yous as you can. Thank the presenters. Thank your executive. The more thank yous you can throw out, the better. And invite them back. Now, we all invite them back, right? I hope you come to the next meeting. I'm glad you came. But give them reasons to come back. Otherwise, you're relying on the whiffing that you might put out with the next invitation, but reasons to come out. At the next meeting, we are hoping to have a special presentation by one of the tech ed teachers or something. Give them any little reason to come back. And then role play. We're going to do a role play now, and the idea here is the movie's better than the book. Things to notice is how the gavel's used. And if you don't have a gavel, and usually you don't, then all you need is this. And you know what? It's better than raising your voice and saying, excuse me, let's get going with the meeting. This has a bit of finesse to it. And then when it's quiet, you just speak in your normal voice. Using the agenda to stay on task, you'll be able to see how that's done, of course. You'll also see from the role play how everybody is included, including the vice president. Usually the vice president, that's Emil and me here, we don't get to do anything, right? Vice president, there's no minutes, there's no treasurer thing. Vice president can feel pretty useless. So in the role play, you'll see that they actually make use of them. And then how discussions are concluded. And we've got a token motion in there. I don't know if it's the best one, but at least there's one there. It's all scripted. And I think this is going to wind up on the website or somewhere. It's in the handouts. Oh, okay. When you're planning your own meeting or starting your own meeting, it's something that wouldn't hurt to read through if you're the least bit uncomfortable with how things should flow, because there's little kernels in there that will stick if you read it over one extra time. We've got our agenda. A little way down the agenda, it flips to page 2. Welcome to our PAC meeting, and we'll carry on with Mr. PAC President Lance.
We call the meeting to order. Usually it does not happen that fast. Okay, thank you. Welcome to this evening's meeting of Chuck Dennison Memorial Elementary PAC. We all miss him very much. Welcome also to our guests today, especially those attending for the first time. Please remember to turn your cell phones off or turn them on to vibrate for the duration of the meeting. I'm not naming any names.
Sorry.
Now, One of the best reasons for us to meet is to get to know each other. So right now we're going to go around the room for introductions. Please let us know if you have an executive role, what grades your children are in, and what attracted you to the PAC meeting tonight. Now at this point, we're not actually going to do this because there's way too many of you. So we'll just carry on as though we did. Okay? Now the agenda, as you can see, we've got up here. In particular, we have an exciting opportunity to have a PAC information table at the upcoming Meet the Teachers event. So are there any other items which should be added to the agenda? Okay, fair enough. Hearing none, I now call upon our Secretary Nancy to review the minutes of the last meeting.
Thank you, Lance. Let's see, last meeting of the PAC took place Tuesday, October 21st at 7 p.m. in the school library. If it's agreeable to everyone, rather than read out all those minutes, I will refer you to the copies that have been distributed. Note that a motion was carried to cover the cost of new sports jackets to the tune of approximately $1,300.
Thank you, Nancy. Any errors or omissions? Any comments? Hearing none, I adopt the minutes as read. Now, we're going to skip ahead to the Treasurer's report because you probably have all kinds of stuff going on in the real thing, but let's just move on. Now call upon our Treasurer, Emil, to present the Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The following is my Treasurer's report dated September 25th, 2019. I feel like Marty McFly here. Since the last report, there has been one item of general account revenue. Ice cream sandwich sales brought in $85.50 net revenue. There was one general account expenditure of $1,375 for new sport jerseys. The current balance of our general account is now $1,217, and our gaming account balance remains unchanged at $3,200. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the new sports jackets, which Emil just referred to. Vice President Marie, would you please tell us all what was done about these new sports jackets?
Thank you, Lance. Some of you will recall from previous meetings that about half of the school's sports jackets were almost unwearable and becoming a concern. We were able to find a supplier who could reproduce the jacket design and provide replacements for the most worn out jackets. Students are very happy about them. Parents were pleased to see their fundraising efforts used this way.
Thank you, Maria. Nicely done. Good work. Under new business, our school administrations invited us to provide a PAC information desk at the upcoming teacher event. We mentioned this before. So, PAC members, what do you think about that? Have any comments? Nancy?
No, twin sister.
Oh. Fair enough, sir. I don't know your name. I apologize.
I am Nancy McParent, and I would be willing to help out with that.
Just great.
Would the PAC executive be present as well?
Would you like to present that as a motion? I bet you would.
Yes, I move that the PAC provide an information table attended by the PAC executive.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion? Irene, perchance? Oh, good. Never arrange that ahead of time. No, it's the cell phone. Now, has the secretary recorded the motion?
A motion has been put forward by Nancy McParent and seconded that the PAC executive provide an information table at Meet the Teacher event.
That's just uncanny. Okay, right, thank you. Is there still any discussion? Fine, if no further discussion, I'll call the motion to a vote. All those in favor, raise your hands. Only one, two, okay, all right. Secretary, got the count? All those opposed? Okay, thank you. Is the secretary recording the votes?
The motion has carried by a vote of 23 in favor or against.
Check your numbers later. Okay, thank you. Motion carries, thank you. That concludes the business items on the agenda. Do we have any other announcements? Very well. Thank you. So our next meeting's on Tuesday, November 25th at 7 o'clock here in the school library. Now, tonight we did make an important decision about the Meet the Teacher event, and the PAC executive will plan the details. We'll get back to you on that. Thank you all for attending. Thank you especially to the first-time guests, and it's been a good opportunity to get to know each other. Feel free to chat afterwards, and please, we look forward to seeing you at the next PAC meeting. This concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you. Drive safely.
in the BCC PAC Leadership Manual, which is online, you can just Google that. There are some very good online resources there, one of which is Effective Meetings. It covers some of what I've talked about, and it's well worth a read, and there's your website right there. And I'd also recommend, if you are interested in advancing your public speaking skills at all, join a Toastmasters club. Even in 6 months, you will feel very comfortable presenting in front of a group. I can attest to that. I was a lot better after 6 months. I was a slow learner, so it's been 27 years now. But it doesn't take you that long. And if you are at all uncomfortable, you'll learn a tremendous amount. There's lots of clubs in this area. Within School District 43, there's probably 8 or 10. I mentioned a book here, The Power of Tact, by Peter Legge. Some of you may know who he is. Publisher of BC Business Magazine. He's actually got a library annex next to the Evergreen Cultural Center, named after him, because he donated quite a few of the books for that. I like his book on tact here, but there's lots of them. Dale Carnegie did a book on tact years ago, and it's not a new topic at all. But for people in business and people running a volunteer organization, tact is a tremendous skill to learn more and more about. So find something at the library and read it. And we've mentioned Robert's Rules of Order. So that concludes what I had to say.